Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening for those of you listening to this re-recording of Site's webinar on gamification. And we have Kim Wyrick, who presented an outstanding live session with lots of interaction and lots of great questions. And due to operator error, meaning me, Sandy Masters, we're doing a better recorded version of this. And Kim, I appreciate so much the time and attention you have given to this topic. It's important in engaging the next generation. I appreciate you being here, and I loved your self-introduction. So let me go ahead and just turn things over to you, and we'll get this great recording for those who are wanting to get involved in gamification and games in learning. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Sandy. I do appreciate you all listening in. In our original presentation, we had polled the audience to kind of see where everybody was coming from in their current role, and the list was anywhere from trainers to marketing and sales to managers to IT. So for whatever department you're in and listening to today, I appreciate it, and I hope that what you see today you can use in your current role to help roll out a strategic and successful gamification plan. So we'll go ahead and get started here. As Sandy had said, my name's Kim Wyrick, and I'd like to share a little bit about myself with you. I've worked with Nationwide for 15 years, and I'm a training and retention consultant who trains solely through virtual techniques. I moved to Austin about 2 years ago from bright and sunny, freezing cold Cleveland, Ohio. It's been a fantastic experience. My husband and I have 3 beautiful children who are all really active soccer players, which is why I drive this and not this everywhere I go. And the reason I share this much detail with you is because I really do believe that we've been charged with bringing innovation into training while still continuing all the other stuff our daily lives and work schedules really require. So it's important that I found, and it's important for you too, that you find a solution that you can institute easily and effectively. Today I kind of want to cover an outline, if you will, for getting started with the gamification strategy. I want to share with you the journey that I've been on in getting our plan up and running, and these are really the main ideas I felt went into my process. I really do hope that they can help each of you as you begin your outlines as well. So today we're going to look at defining goals. We're going to talk about involving others in your company on the project and why that's so important. We're going to talk about vendor selection because there's a lot of choices out there for you. We'll look at game mechanics and how to make it work with your current company structure. And then finally, I wanted to share some lessons learned as I've gone along here so far, and hopefully that can give you some insight as well into things you can and can't do as you get started. So let's go ahead and get started with our presentation. And the first and foremost thing that I want you to know is that you've got to understand your audience. You need to know what's holding them back from being effective learners. So this was kind of a poll that I did with my group, trying to see what I was going to hear back from them, and it's something that you guys can do too. So what are you guys hearing out there? Are you hearing things like I'm too busy, or the classes are just too boring, or I don't get anything for taking the class, and these online classes are just so boring, or I don't even know how to register for taking this class? So there's so many different things that you might be hearing back. The biggest thing that really spoke to me when I was listening to my audience was I don't get anything for taking the class. So I had to come up with figuring out how do I motivate my learners and jumpstart their wanting or their excitement about coming to a virtual class or taking a quiz or watching a video. So that's where I had to start, and I started thinking and hearing the word gamification thrown around a little bit. Almost 2 years ago, I sat down with my boss in a Starbucks, and we kind of started evaluating this whole training program that we had in place. We had currently over 130 learners. We were located in 24 different locations across 10 different states. And we had a pretty strong virtual learning program in place already that included live courses, on-demand courses, videos, quizzes. But we wanted to figure out what we could do to better engage our learners with innovative techniques. So we started outlining our ideas on a napkin, and that napkin really became a launching point to the word gamification. And it started me on the search around gamification. So this is kind of a point where I wanted to ask everybody, and you can kind of think about this in your head, how and what do you think of when you hear the word gamification? And I'm going to go silent for a second as you're listening. Jot down on a piece of paper, what do you think you hear when you hear that word gamification? What does it mean to you? All right, so you should have started writing a little bit. In our live session, this is what was popping up in the chat box as we asked the same question. So, games to increase interaction, fun with a purpose, engaging the learner in a new way, adding competition to learning, data-driven motivation, receiving points and reaching goals, interactive learning, learning with prizes. Okay, these were really good ways of thinking about the word gamification. Things that, just getting started in it, I was wondering what it was. What's the word gamification? I was thinking video games or something like Candy Crush. And it really started to truly get me looking for a good definition that I could share. So I looked around, and these were additional ones that were provided out there. Over the past few years, gamification has really been a hot topic. There have been countless reports, there's been articles, projections, case studies on it. They're all showing various degrees of success and failure. It's also been broadly defined in books, by analysts, by technology providers, and if you're anything like me, you probably are looking for a really simple definition. So I really wanted one that I could understand and that I could easily explain to my leaders. So I went in search of this, really specifically around employee engagement. And these are some of the ones that really spoke to me, that I really liked the best. The one that I really truly use now with my leaders is in that top right or top left corner there. Data-driven motivation strategies designed to increase productivity, engagement, and loyalty among customers, employees, and business partners. So I really like the way that that talked about data-driven motivation. I'm like, cool, what does that mean? So I need to figure that out a little bit more. And I want to be able to understand what that truly means. In the end, despite the word game in the name, gamification, this is what I came to understand about it with the help of one of the vendors, the one that I specifically chose, which was Bunchball. When people hear the word gamification, they may focus on the word game and immediately think of unproductivity or entertainment or something with a fuzzy benefit. But nothing could be further from the truth. Gamification is about getting better performance out of your employees by using big data that they're generating to motivate them and drive a hard return on investment. Now let's look at how this can be applied to a sales organization. When that ROI what it basically drills down to is making more money and spending less time, all of which, when applied to employee engagement, is affected by these key performance indicators that you see on the screen, which really can be basically drilled down to these areas of focus: operational and cost efficiency, employee engagement and retention, and risk mitigation. This was a really fantastic explanation that I received from my vendor for our gamification solution. It really hit on the points that I was looking to get out of my program. So once I started understanding, okay, the word gamification, it's about finding a motivation, it's about really rewarding that, rewarding that behavior, changing behavior, I needed to really get a definition, I've got the wording, and now I've got to really explain it. So now I need to set those basic goals around what I know that gamification is. Everyone remember the SMART acronym? We want to set goals for our projects that are specific, that are measurable, that are attainable, that are relevant, and they're time-bound. You can use the worksheet from this class and start coming up with your own goals. For our gamification plan, we had the following goals. We wanted to create a unique and engaging learning experience first and foremost. We wanted to raise employee satisfaction. They were happy, but we really wanted them to be really, truly engaged and overall satisfied with the learning experience. We wanted to encourage voluntary learning. The key word there is voluntary. We wanted them to want to go in and take the courses and watch the videos and share their information that they've learned in the quizzes. We wanted to see an increased training class attendance. We had an average class size and we were looking to increase that as well. And then we wanted to also identify behaviors that correlated with better performance. So I had a good idea of what gamification meant. I kind of now knew the goals that I was looking for to get out of my program, and I was now ready to start getting others involved in the organization with my concept to make it a reality. So there's so many different departments that have an impact or will impact your project, as you will see as you start. A lot of people will want to be engaged and need to be engaged for your successful rollout. It's great to get these guys on board from the start. You need to have a working partnership with these groups to make your project successful. So let's take a look at who they are. Well, first and foremost, you got to get your leaders to buy in and to be behind you 100% as you start your project. But you're going to need to show them a return on investment like we discussed. You need a confirmed budget. You need the go-ahead for spending the time to build the project. Next, you need to talk with your IT department, technology. Ask them what systems you're currently using that you can fit gamification strategies into. We're going to talk more about this, but the best gamification program that you can build works around the systems you already have in place. You're going to overlap them together so that they work in connection. Talk with the technology team about what systems you're currently using that you can fit your gamification strategies into. You're going to want to prepare them for their involvement to build functionality. So staying in line with them and knowing how long a project really takes to get put out, how backlogged are they with other projects, and where yours will fit into the stream will give you a better indication of how long your project might take to implementation. Keep them involved when choosing a solution that works best for you. As you're picking vendors, you want to involve technology because your IT team will know what kind of questions to ask that maybe you're not sure of. So it's great to have that partnership. Your legal team will definitely want to be involved with any contract negotiations that you have between your company and a third-party vendor. So make sure that you have them involved from the start on your contract discussions. Communications will help you launch your program internally. So you're going to see here the wheel of cooperative action as it works together, much like every project that you're working on today. It continues as the discussion. This team that I call the right team involves everybody there so that you can make the project successful from the beginning. So finding the right solution then, once we've got our team in place, begins with asking the right questions when you start exploring vendors. Okay, so you can search out gamification vendors online. I have a site listed here at the bottom of the screen that I use to get started, but you can even Google gamification strategies or gamification companies and find several more. I also checked around my organization to see if any other departments had already used a third-party vendor. A lot of our organizations are really big, and a lot of times your projects seem to work maybe for just one group or small unit, and so it's always great to explore other parts of the company to see if there's something out there that you can utilize. While I found other areas were making really good strides in using e-learning modules that rewarded learners by earning recognition for maybe maneuvering through a session or completing it. No other department had yet put together a full gamification strategy using a third-party vendor or third-party software. So make sure you do explore your organization as well to see if there is a vendor of choice already. So let's say you begin like I did with choosing a vendor, so you had to start from scratch. You'll need to review your goals with them. Let them know what you're looking for. So remember that last slide we just talked about, what are our goals? So you're going to want to review those goals with them. What systems do you have in place currently? So you'll share with them what systems that you want to integrate with your gamification strategy. We're going to see some of these examples in a few slides. Find out what other companies that they might have worked with so that they can share some demos with you. Demonstrations are a great way for you to see their product, their finished product. I got a very good understanding from the demonstrations that my vendor had on what I could and couldn't do. It also gave me some additional ideas on creating a lot of my gamification games actually, or strategies to see how it would integrate well with my learning management system. It's really fun also just to see some of the creative that you can get involved with from your vendor. So make sure you ask them for those. I got a lot of ideas from my vendor. I also got a lot of ideas on how to improve on my plan that I had started, my scratch plan. Make sure you find out what your vendor charges. So as you're going through these demos and you're having these open discussions, all of which are usually free because you're just in that I'm getting to know you phase, but we haven't signed anything yet. We haven't agreed to a contract. We're just investigating you as a solution. Find out what they cost, right? So use your IT department there, see what kind of technology issues you might have, make sure they're as part of those cost discussions so you really fully understand the cost structure and how it works within your budget. Some vendors have a great out-of-the-box solution that might work really well with you. Some might have a lot of customization that you're very interested in as well. I also highly suggest that you ask the vendors what support they give you. What kind of analytics do they give you? What kind of creative design, IT support? What are those things that they can provide for you in the overall structure? Again, through my review, the vendor I chose had the best options for me for a solution that fit my budget, time to delivery, and overall solution. The vendor selection process can take a while, so be prepared for that. Once you've narrowed your selection down to a couple, it's a great idea to involve all those internal departments we talked about to gain agreement on the choice. It can take a while to get your corporate IT architects and legal to get through the initial startup design and paperwork. That's why a good project team manager is critical. So, after I chose my vendor to work with, we began creating our gamification plan. I had done some research earlier while we were waiting for this paperwork to be finalized, which kept my project on track. I had to find out what our employees were going to respond to so I could create game mechanics that fit well. So I asked them. I used a survey. I used SurveyMonkey and just asked what motivates you. You can use any similar type of polling software that you are already using. Let's see what the survey looked like that I created. This was it. We are getting ready to improve your training experience. What would you like to receive for attending virtual training courses? And they got to pick any of the answers that applied to them. It was really interesting to see that my #1 response was recognition. So it was neat to see that they were looking for something intangible, intrinsic. And that really fed to the development of what I was going to start creating in my game mechanics. Asking the audience is important, but you also want to seek experience and advice from the vendor you may work with. Chances are they've worked with a similar program and can help you set up a reward system that will be most effective for you. Once I had an idea of what kind of rewards my group was looking for and the budget that I was given, I was able to start looking at building my gamification mechanics with Bunchball's help. So, creating the game. This was really the fun part for me. The gamification reward system is really up to you and your research and has numerous possibilities. You can run contests to boost competition among individuals or groups. You can have your employees complete levels and earn points. You can reward virtual badges or trophies and even offer them earnings towards actual prizes if you have budget allowed for that. Our plan involved many of these aspects. We also focused ours on the intangible rewards to date, and it's working really well. We didn't have a budget for phase one to start giving actual prizes, so everything we're doing is badges, trophies, all online intrinsic values. And we'll show you that in just a second. What's interesting is that gamification doesn't look like a game. In fact, the best gamification platforms are integrated into your digital environment in a seamless and unobtrusive way. That, in fact, is what makes it really powerful. A great gamification platform helps turn your system of record into a systems of engagement. That is, you're motivating engagement and usage in a compelling way using your systems. All right, so I'm going to show you some examples of what you can build. I want to again thank my partner vendor Bunchball, who provided the next few slides for us to review today. What can gamification look like? Well, whether you're going to use a CRM, customer relations management system, or if you have a learning management system yourself where you're motivating increased training and even voluntary learning, or if you're in a call center, gamification can work for you. So let's take a look at some of these. The first example is Salesforce, a customer relations management system. You'll see the gaming mechanics have been filtered into the Salesforce platform, where you've got featured challenges. Top right corner, you see trophies earned by Mr. Andrew. You see chatter listed there where they can share experiences of what's motivating him today and who he's trying to motivate. You can see on the left side where his levels are and what rewards he's gotten. All of it within the Salesforce platform. Here we have a learning management system by Ford. Notice the brand is Ford. You don't see the vendor's brand anywhere on here. In this situation, employees could scroll over the badges on the car, click one, and complete the learning module. Once they completed it, their badge was given on the car. So there was multiple ways that they could learn and earn badges for their vehicle. They also had trophies. In the left corner above the tires, you'll see trophies. So as they completed different learning levels, they also earned virtual trophies. In this call center environment where it's important to get real-time motivation going and not wait for a manager to say, how am I doing, you can implement gamification strategies as well. Here we see missions that they can complete. You see badges, you see team member results so that they have that sense of competition going. And it's, again, all built with inside the current platform that the company was already using. And now for my favorite part, what does our platform look like? It's a social collaboration site. So here it is. We took the out-of-box widgets from our vendor Bunchball and fit them into our social collaboration tool, SharePoint. This enables our learning management system to speak with SharePoint and give real-time updates to one of our employees that's going through the training. So here you can see in the top left corner what missions they have to complete. They'll be able to scroll through. They'll be able to click on the Go button for any of those missions, and it will launch them into that class or the registration page for that class if it's a future one. If it's a quiz, it'll launch the quiz, and if it's a video, it'll play the video for them so they can keep track of the missions that they're on. That's the Go button showing you that if you click that, it jumps right to our learning management system. They can see what badges they can still earn and those that they've already earned. As they earn their badges by completing their missions, they will get the highlighted or in color badge appear in this bottom left widget. It's really a great way for them to showcase what they have completed in an easy to read way. They can also view their points and what levels they are currently in based on those points, and they can also see what the next level point value is needed to be. So in this case, I'm a beginner, my next level is advanced, and I need 300 points in order to get to that next level. So I have my own self-competition going on to get myself motivated to that next level. You'll see a redeem button as well in my portal. Currently the redeem button isn't active for merchandise, but with my vendor, if I chose to enact that when I do get some budget in another phase, we can actually have that button click and then go to a page where they can maybe get branded materials, water bottles, umbrellas, jackets, things like that. So you can also reward your member or your employees with actual prizes if you chose to do that. And the final portal is the leaderboard. They really like this because they can see who they're competing against. They can see this week, this month, and all-time leaders based on points. So they're able to compete against others in other offices that they might not often talk to because we're in 10 different states. So it gets that competition level going. Again, all of these widgets were out-of-the-box solutions integrated into our already existing platform, which was great. And you'll see that that is the way gamification is supposed to work inside your current technology already running. So again, the easy part about this is how does it work in the environment? Well, we didn't want to change anything for our learners, right? We didn't want to integrate a gamification strategy that was going to make things harder for them, and neither do you, because if it's harder, they're not going to want to do it. So first and foremost, they take a virtual class or quiz or watch a video just like they do today. We didn't change our learning management system, and we just basically took a link behind the scenes for them. Now, when they take those classes, quizzes, videos that they did before, they're earning points for each of those missions or tasks completed. Those points also give them those completed challenges for badges, virtual badges, which they absolutely have loved, okay? And we've got that leaderboard out there on Spot, or SharePoint, as you call it, so that they can actually see on a daily basis, how are we doing? How am I doing? I need to pick it up, okay? So they can see who they're beating in points, which has been a really good motivation for a lot of our people. So I'm sure you're wondering what the results are. We are 2 months live in this environment, and the feedback has been really good. 97% of our employees have logged in and taken a class. We have an increased utilization of our SharePoint site, which not only has the gaming mechanics, okay, but also has a lot of valuable training resources available to them. They didn't even know those were out there before, so they're utilizing the site better. They can check their progress towards points, badges, and being a leader while they're also getting that training material. We have gotten feedback via email comments, and it's been, this is so cool, great idea with the badges, I like the competitions, where are my points? because there are points, sometimes they do take a class and maybe it didn't respond right away, and they want to know, where are my points? When am I going to get them? So we know that they enjoy the whole idea that we've put in place. Quiz scores have gotten better, and that's what we're looking to see, right? We want it to be engaging. That's at 97%. That's awesome. We want them to have a positive response, but we also want to know that they're learning something, that they're getting something out of the course, and scores have improved. So overall, we're happy with the results to date. The program is working the way we wanted it to with our first rollout, and we think we'll continue to see great success along the way. Now, I do have some lessons learned. Every project has its bumps, right? So I wanted to give you a couple of my lessons learned so that maybe that will help you make your transition and your process a little smoother. First and foremost, make a timeline and stick to it. You need to be the leader of that. It needs to be adjusted once in a while, so make sure that you know if you're adjusting your timeline, make sure it's adjusted along every point, because what you might adjust in IT development can absolutely affect integration. It can affect your show and tell or your pilot. It can affect your communication plan, and it might affect your go live date. So make sure you're aware of how any change might actually change your project. Make sure to have weekly status meetings with all that are working on the project so that everyone is clear on the progress, your setbacks, your challenges, your budgets versus actual spend, because all of that is very important, so you need to be on top of it. And always work closely with your vendor. Listen to their advice, work through any issues you have together, and let them know on your continuous timeline where you're at so that you're all in this game together. If you do your research and you create a well-defined approach before you gamify, then you're going to have a very successful process and outcome overall, and your employee learning engagement will soar. So it's really important that the plan is put into place well in advance of the rollout. I'll leave you with the biggest lesson I learned, and it's best said in this quote from Henry Ford: think you can or think you can't, either way you'll be right. I use this with my kids and I use this in work because it's a great way to approach any project, any task in life really. You need to have a positive attitude. You have to know that great things can happen, and they will. So thank you again for listening and participating today. Good luck on your own gamification journey as well. I wish you much success with it.
Kim, thank you so much for doing this re-recording, and we appreciate those who made it to the very end of this recording as listeners. And we had a lot of great questions during the live session, so we're going to do a little bit of Q&A here because you may be having these same questions. The first thing that I was thinking about, and this was something that I thought about as we went through this session again, was are you thinking ahead to how you would integrate this with the performance appraisal process, the performance review, or are you providing reports to managers? How does that work, or are you keeping it all separate right now?
It is separate right now. That's a great question. It is separate right now. The goal is that it's a voluntary learning-based system, but managers are getting the same views, and they also get a report by me every 2 weeks on how we're progressing and which offices are kind of the learning leaders. And then if they wanted more detail, they can absolutely ask that. So right now it's a voluntary system, so we haven't brought it into the performance evaluation.
Okay, great. And then we had a question about generational differences and preferences for learning. Did any of that thought go into this as far as the prizes that you might have, or what different generations might like as far as their learning preferences for gamification?
So that was a really good question that came out of the session, and so I talked to my vendor a little bit about that, and basically one of the statistics they gave me was, what would you think the main age of gamers is, Sandy, that are out there now?
Well, I'm thinking that it was like in the 20s and early 30s.
Okay, well, I think you'd be interested in, our audience might be interested to know that 35% of gamers are middle-aged women.
Oh, wow.
And so when they started looking at that, the gamification mechanics, both intrinsic values like the virtual badges and the virtual trophies, um, all the way to offering an actual cash value for prizes that can be used towards merchandise, it works for every age and demographic group. So the idea of motivating people is the same across the board. It's just finding which gaming mechanic motivates your audience.
Okay, that's excellent. We also had questions regarding the integration with current platforms, like how long did it take? Did you have any difficulties and roadblocks with the integration
Sure.
with your existing platforms?
Sure. So it's key to get to IT involved from the beginning to kind of let them know what you're trying to do. Our process started about 2 years ago with the initial looking for the game and looking for a vendor. And so the vendor process took about 3 months to really solidify who we wanted to go with. From that point, the contract discussion and working with IT through the solution, it took about another 6 to 7 months of, hey, this is how we're going to be able to integrate. These are the questions we need to ask the vendor. Can they do it? What's the security risk to our company? How are we going to do that? And so those discussions took about another 6, 7 months. And the more extravagant your gamification strategy is, it will take longer. Mine was very out-of-the-box solution because I wanted it to be easily integrated for the pilot. If you're using out-of-the-box solutions, it's going to go faster. Once we actually got everybody on board, the implementation piece from building it to implementing only took about 3 months. And our vendor says it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months for the build to implementation part of it.
And how many members were on your design team?
That's a good question. So we have a small department. So our design team was about 5 to 6 people. If I look at my whole project team from IT to marketing, sales, trainers. So that was about the size of my team for this project.
And did you have any process for selecting the individuals who were going to participate in the pilot version?
Yeah, we have a great group of trainers on my team, and so they were my pilot. They were my guinea pigs. So I got to actually show them how it would work, what it looked like, were the links working. We had a test database in SharePoint set up so that we could use that until we actually flipped the switch to make it go on. So that's how we worked through the pilot piece.
And how long did you run the pilot?
Pilot ran for about a month.
Okay. Very good. So thinking about the future, do you have any ideas or thoughts of how you're going to keep this fun and different in the future?
Yeah, we have. So we kind of had a phased approach. We wanted to roll it out quickly and get it in. We wanted to make it easy and simple at first, but we'll be involving more topics in there. We'll be creating new badges, fresh badges. There will be some that you can only earn by we're bringing in sales contests to it. So there's a lot of different aspects to the platform that we can initiate in small phases as we roll forward to keep people's interest up in the program.
Very good. And then final question, is this program being used for insurance agents, or do you have plans to include agents in the future?
So these are insurance agents. We call them advocates. They're company-owned stores that we are training right now. So my audience are the advocates in those company-owned stores, and they all are licensed agents. So it is being used for them currently.
Any plans to use it for other parts of the company, like claims or underwriting?
We have gotten quite a few requests to show the product to other departments and see how they could integrate it as well. So I wouldn't rule it out. I think that it could roll out in other areas as well.
That's great. Well, Kim, thank you again. This was a great re-recording of the session. You covered a lot of material in a very short amount of time, and I know that there will be other site members who are watching this that will be motivated to take action to include some gamification in their next learning projects. So again, Kim, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I'll have you show the resources slide real quick, and that's included
Absolutely.
in the, this will be included in the downloadable PDF that goes with the recording, these links as well. And there was a link on a previous slide that looked like it was cut off, and that will also show the full link, that technology, well, I forget which one it was. It was,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, the
It's,
tech.
I believe it's that second link right there, Sandy.
Oh yeah, there it is, technologyadvice.com. That looked like an interesting place. I'm going to check it out myself. That's great.